I don't think engineers are going to reduce more and more. I think business users are obviously going to increase the ability to create precision agents. The pyramid will move to a diamond-shaped structure in organizations. AI governance is going to be a huge area of focus going forward.
What is your top 3 criteria for our users of similar company like yours? Hi, I'm Sandeep Dinodia, founder and CEO of SimplAI, the operating system of enterprises Agentic AI. We help enterprises move from AI pilots to production, scale execution with orchestration, governance, and measurable business impact. Today, we want to explore what the transformation looks like inside a leading global organization. Today, I welcome you to Satyajit Saha, Global Head of Technology and Digital Solutions at Evalueserve. Welcome, Satyajit.
Thank you, Sandeep, and thank you for having me in this podcast. I'm Satyajit, and I head the technology and digital solutions team at Evalueserve. In my role, we basically focus on a few things. We focus on a few SaaS-based products that we deliver to clients, and we focus on bringing efficiency and productivity gains using AI and agentic solutions for our internal managed services team as well as clients. Evalueserve by itself, we've been around for 25 years, got about 5,000 plus resources spread across multiple locations and serving clients across 40 plus different locations globally. And as a company, our focus primarily is to fuse industry know-how and technology together to provide what we call tech-enhanced managed services. And I do believe that with agentic AI coming into focus, it blends very well into what we try to do as an organization.
So the first question is, how do you see evolution of KP on consulting firms, and how do you see the business transforming in this era?
It's a very interesting question, Sandeep. We have been asked this question for the last 3 years. It was about 3.5 years back when generative AI suddenly, became the talking point in every single conversation. Suddenly, a tool which was in the hand of just engineers and AI consultants was suddenly available to the common researcher or a consultant on the floor. So we very quickly pivoted at that time and realized that we need to integrate generative AI into our day-to-day processes. So be it what we did on the ground, because Evalueserve is a managed services research consulting firm. So how we delivered research, it was important to bring generative AI into our ecosystem. We were delivering a few SaaS-based products as well in areas that we've got strengths in. So we had to embed generative AI into those SaaS-based platforms as well. And we very quickly started moving in that direction. So it started with conversational AI, which everyone started focusing on. And we were very quick to go to market with bringing some of those, features into our products or bringing those capabilities in the hands of our researchers. However, about a year back, everyone knows it was all about agents and agentic AI, autonomous agents.
But before that, right? I mean, you largely have a consulting people in-house.
That's right.
And largely where we've seen the evolution of, the technology along the lines. So how do you cope up with that? Because the power user of these kind of technologies are usually the engineers. And they are, I would say, the known engineers even, or let's say they're not a power user.
And that's both a benefit and, it's a disadvantage as well. So when agentic AI came about, and we realized the power of agentic AI and the power of how you can leverage autonomous agents or agents with some level of control, to be leveraged. The use cases started multiplying, and very quickly we realized that if we had to really scale up and we had to really make an impact in our day-to-day businesses, the engineering team cannot be a roadblock in terms of driving this change.
Mm-hmm.
So our first, port of call was, how do we enable our business users? How do we enable the domain experts on the ground to understand what AI agents are, to be able to create these AI agents, to be able to test it and see the value it's bringing to their day-to-day business. So measuring ROI in the true sense. And it was a requirement for us to very quickly move in that direction. That's when we started assessing a number of tools out there in the market, a number of firms out there. We looked at hyperscalers, we looked at startups, and we that's when we identified SimplAI almost a year and a half back, right, Sandeep, where we realized that the platform that SimplAI gives is a very user-friendly, low-code, no-code platform. It's a platform where a domain expert or a business user can very quickly create AI agents with a little bit of coaching, and the fine-tuning of that can be brought by engineers. So we were able to create that mix of business and engineers to create some of these agents, and we were able to, I believe, in a matter of 6 months, create almost 60 to 70 core agents that were in production, driving day-to-day businesses, bringing in ROIs across processes that we have.
So
Yeah,
that bring to another question, right? I mean, once we started, I remember that is like, I think there was a trial where everyone, and I was there
correct.
even, where we were talking about the initial part of how agentic is in going to play and change the world, and how receptive you guys were in that 1 month of trial period. And the exact states were around 170 agents and tools your teams built across
Correct.
the line of
Yeah.
businesses. And I have seen it, they were so enthusiastic, and it was the first leg where we seen it any consulting firms which largely building to that level, and most of them were able to take it to at least close to a production.
Yeah.
I mean, where something working, and their line of businesses of heads were really impressed by that. That gives me another direction. Do you see these consultant, because I believe that, and then by the way, data says the 50% were engineers and 50 were non-engineers, which you're consultant in nature, and
Which
still
is
that
increasing.
stays. Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
which is
increasing.
increasing. Yeah, yeah.
The
So that gives
non-engineers are
you,
increasing, which is what we want.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that gives me a thought, like, the firms like yours, do you see that engineers gonna reduce more and more, and these people gonna take it to the reams and then figuring out these things automatically?
No, I don't think engineers are going to reduce more and more. I think the way it's going to work is the business users are obviously going to increase a lot more. But what I've seen for any agent that you're creating, which is complex in nature, which requires level of integration, which requires to be looked, where you need to look at structured data, where you need to look at specific tools out there, which you need to configure into your workflow. You need the data engineers or the AI engineers to come in and help bring in the finesse to be able to create outputs which you are confident about. When we started working with you, what we went to the market with is the ability to create or to deliver what we call precision agents, because I think there are thousands of agents out there. Companies are going to market promoting the agents that they're built. For us as a consulting and research firm, what's core is the quality of the output, and the quality of the output should be at a level where it really reduces the amount of time someone is spending, and to bring that level of precision, you still need the engineers in the final stage of building these agents. So I would say that the role of the engineers remain, but it doesn't need to grow at the same level of the same exponential level at which your domain experts would be adopting some of these tools. So I think it's going to continue to, both these roles are going to be extremely critical as we go forward.
So, so you guys are largely operating in 40 plus countries, and that gives you, multi geographical issues
Yeah.
also. How do you are tackling up while these technologies are new,
Yep.
and your consultants, and of course you have a multiple line of businesses across the way. So, what are your strategies that you see that more adopting these agentic ones even?
So since you brought up about Evalueserve, let me just quickly give you a view of how we are structured as a business. So as a business, we are structured into three broad verticals. You have financial services, where we cater to investment banks, private equities, investment research firms. We have corporates. Corporates is where we cater to pharmaceutical companies. We cater to manufacturing firms, telecom firms. And the third bucket is corporates. It's professional services, consulting and advisory firms. Now, when we started identifying use cases, that we want to go to market with, we said, let's start identifying use cases which are um, low hanging fruits, right? Where you're concerned with public data, you're concerned with data which doesn't have high degree of confidentiality requirements. Simple example, if you look at investment banks, private equity, we do a lot of company profiles, industry studies, due diligence analysis. We do a lot of deal sourcing kind of work. And each of these works requires you to leverage public data and internal data. So the way we started by looking at agents across each of these industries where um, it's where the challenges of adoption would be very, very low. There's no questions being asked about security, data privacy, etc. And that was a significant portion of work that we were doing. Almost 40 to 50% of the work required us to just leverage public data or data which is non-confidential in nature. Now, the success of those agents, very quickly resulted in very quick adoption of what we were doing. We had large teams going into hundreds of people who started adopting a lot of these agents, and they were able to very quickly start seeing ROI in terms of how much time they were spending, how many profiles or industry studies they were doing. We were able to see 20 to 40% productivity gains almost immediately. So now that we have built confidence, the next phase is how do you now leverage these agentic tools on client environment, on client data. And the way we have built our internal tools in, where we are leveraging SimplAI and other firms is the ability to now take it to client's environment, the ability to now tap into, client confidential data where the client gives us approvals, of course, to be able to take the next step in this evolution, where we are now going beyond what we were doing. So the first step was identify use cases which are going to scale, but are less controversial in nature, and build adoption from there.
Oh, it's fantastic to see that, having this kind of adoption in production. Now, that got me into the another question. Let's say, how do you see this organization or a similar organization, where KPN consulting firm, going on a next 3 years to 5 years even?
So about a year back, I think when Agentic AI came out in December of 2024, I remember there was a lot of noise about the end of consulting, the end of research. There was a lot of caution in terms of how these services were being delivered. Now, I would highlight certain things that are definitely going to change, right? Low level work. That a lot of that will go AI focused. You will bring in agents, both passive agents, active agents, autonomous agents, AI agents into workflows. So a lot of the low level work will get automated. I do believe the workforce structure will evolve.
That's interesting.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
so. In largely, and in especially the consulting KPO firm, bottom of pyramid, your analyst, right? So,
Yeah.
do you think that role evolved into something?
It will evolve into something. So, there is a huge conversation going on how the pyramid will move to a diamond shaped structure in organizations where the bottom of the pyramid kind of reduces in size, but the skill sets moves more towards people who understand how to review agents, who understands how to do the testing on agents before it goes live. The role of the domain experts become very critical, and hence the entire middle layer is something which will gain more prominence. So there is going to be a shift in the workforce. We are already seeing that. You're seeing stats in the markets as well from Gartner and others who keep stating about how the level 1, entry level, level 2 resources, either their role will change or the requirements will reduce. So that's another change we're seeing in this industry. The third change is business models. Historically, a lot of the business models that we had in this industry were FTE based or fixed costs. But what is changing is uh, business models which are outcome based. Clients are asking us, can you convert this to an outcome based model now that you're leveraging agentic AI? There are conversations around digital FTs, right? If let's say an individual did X and I use technology along with resources, how would you price us for that, right? So the entire concept of digital FTs is something that we are also assessing. So I think this is an evolving area, and the right business model will vary from use case to use case. But definitely, we are seeing a shift over there as well. So, like I mentioned, low level work, um, the entire structure of organizations, business models. So these are few things that will change. What will not go away, and I can come to that. But if you have any questions, Sandeep, I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
take that.
So I think that what we can see it from your consumption as well. We see that in pre-production, you guys build around 800 tools, agents. There are 70, 80 people dedicatedly working
Yeah.
on that, and you have thousands of people, right? What's the plan? Because the is it aligning to the vision that you are stating, where the everything will be changing?
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you think that uh, organization which is working in 40 countries adopting more and more, what do you see and what's your plan around it?
Yeah. So as a company, we have always adopted technology all the way from 2003, 2000, from micro automation, then RPA, and we kind of moved to the SaaS based world, and now, generative AI, agentic AI. So we have been in that journey. One thing that we keep trying to do is elevating the level of value we give our clients, elevating the kind of work that we're giving to clients. So, what is happening right now is the nature of conversations is changing with clients. They have also become smarter in the last 2 3 years. They have also understood how technology can really have an impact in what they're doing. So what began as just conversational chatbots, etc., where clients wanted to leverage that to tap into the data that they were sitting on, has now become um, you know uh, real task based outputs, which is quite tangible in terms of what we do. So as a company, what we are seeing, and what I believe will happen in the next 3 years, right? We are seeing clients are coming and telling us, you did this entire process manually before. Let's say commercial excellence, or conference analytics, or the way we support private equity firms. You were doing all of this manually before. Can you bring in technology, and can you do more for us, right? That's one. The second point is, can you automate this part of the process that was manual, and while automating it, can you kind of move up the value chain and do something else for us, like more advanced analytics or more analysis based work where judgment is required, where you need to bring in context, you need to bring in domain expertise, and that's the direction that they're asking us to go in. So what I see is that, without going into team size and team structure, what I am seeing right now is the level of conversations are getting elevated. The work that we did before versus the kind of conversations we're having today has shifted drastically. There are use cases that are coming our way which we never got before, and we do believe that there is a potential for us to scale up a lot more, commercialize a lot more, and all thanks to agentic AI and the ability for it to automate a lot of our existing work that we are doing right now. So I think what will change is the amount of focus on low level work, repeatable work. What will evolve is work where judgment is required, work where domain expertise is required, work where we can come in and review the output of agents on a on a regular basis to ensure accuracy, to ensure there is precision in terms of the outputs that are provided. So that work will keep increasing. And I think for a company like Evalueserve, it's important to be nimble. It's important to be quick. We get into conversations with the client and they say, can you do XYZ? And I need to very quickly show them that something can be done. And
Yeah,
today's technology that we have over there, including SimplAI, and it also allows us to test the art of possible.
great. So the next question is like, why did you choose simple AI, and how simple AI helps your teams, including tech, non-tech teams, to create agents, build, deploy in production, test? So if you can elaborate on this point.
Very interesting question, Sandeep. And I think we've had multiple conversations on why we selected Simple AI. Now, as a firm, Evalueserve, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a large engineering team. We have about 200 to 250 engineers, which includes data engineers, AI architects, etc. We have been leveraging open source platforms to build agentic pipelines, but those are engineers doing it, right? We've also been looking at other startups. We have been looking at hyperscalers with whom we have, very old relationships with. But across the board, what was lacking is the ability for me to democratize the creation of AI agents. When a company of our size, 5,000 people, multiple domains, multiple, business verticals that we cater to, it's very, very difficult to ideate, do POCs, and see what can move to production. And the biggest advantage that SimplAI gave us was the ability for me to democratize the creation of AI agents. Now, someone who is leading the technology team, it's almost like giving away that role to someone else. But it was important for us as an organization to be able to move very, very quickly in this direction. So, one of the biggest advantages and reasons why we selected SimplAI as one of the core partners we would go to market with is the ability for my domain experts to take this platform, get trained, and they got trained very quickly. I think within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, they were up and running with the platform, and to be able to create it, right? So that was step one: low code, no code, and that was the first tick in the box. The other one was the ability for y'all to understand the requirements and help build specific tools within your entire framework, right? Because what was happening is use cases came in very quickly. And the ecosystem, the AI ecosystem also was changing very, very quickly, right? New LLMs coming in every day, new tools and technologies, new companies, new startups. And everyone is trying to, everyone is coming up with suggestions. I think what SimplAI was able to do in this entire journey over the last 1.5 years was you all gave us a lot of comfort in adapting your roadmap to align with what our requirements were as a research and consulting firm. And I think that was the second piece. The third piece is the level of support we got. A lot of startups today we talk to, startups that are in different parts of the world, in India, they don't really have the bandwidth to support companies and enterprises. I think what you all did was you all gave dedicated set of people who understand our ecosystem to come and work with our teams to be able to scale up what we were doing. And hence we were very quickly able to churn out requirements. So that was the third reason why we looked at SimplAI. The fourth reason is obviously because you all are cloud agnostic. We have conversations with clients who are on different, clouds. Most of them are, on-prem because we're working with financial services companies. And, it was important for us to have the option of having a solution that is cloud agnostic, right? If we ever have to move in that direction with clients, which is also happening. We are having discussions with clients right now. The fifth reason, right, why we again selected SimplAI was integrations. Integrations with multiple platforms that you'll have on your platform, but also integration with our internal applications that we were building. So we internally have built a few agentic AI applications. We've got our own SaaS-based platform, like I mentioned. Can I create these agents and integrate it into my platforms with some level of pre and post processing, with some level of flexibility? And SimplAI gave us that level of flexibility very, very quickly. So these were 4 or 5 reasons why we went with SimplAI. And we started, like you mentioned, we started with a POC. The POC had 170 use cases. Right now we had about 70, like I mentioned earlier, which are at production grade, where teams are actually leveraging it in the day-to-day work. Every day there are new use cases being developed. Every day the old use cases are being enhanced further. I think it's been a fantastic journey, in this evolution.
So, so what's the ratio today? Let's say your analyst being building from the line of businesses and your engineers, even those who are working on the platform.
It was 50-50 earlier when we began. Right now, I would put it 70-30. So
And
the more complex agents, or the agents that are more that require you to tap into extensive data sets, tap into multimodal data sets, which require some integration touch points. Those are areas where I would still push the engineering team to ideate and drive. So I would say it's 70-30.
and if I talk about it, let's say in your vision that you are thinking about, let's say 3 to 5 years of Evalueserve, how soon that large segment of people trained on the, let's say, simple AI or a similar platform, I mean, which they know all the nuances, they know all the parts,
Yeah.
which see that, hey, this is great, this we really want to, and that gives you an
I think,
analogy
yeah.
about your vision, like, more and more
Yeah.
adoption.
See, one of the biggest challenges in today's world is how do you scale, right? So the reason we partnered with SimplAI is because I was able to integrate SimplAI into our enterprise grade application called Genie. Now, Genie has access; everyone has access to it. So I'm able to kind of do a back to back integration with SimplAI and deliver a lot of agents to multiple people. So the question on by when can more people in the organization adopt AI, agentic AI, I would say in another year or two. Um, how many people in the organization would be capable of building, AI agents or agentic solutions? Now the question is, do you want everyone to have the capability to do that, right? I would stick to maybe 20 to 40% who I would want uh, to really train and upskill in building agentic solutions, and the rest of them should know how to leverage it and use it, because ultimately our goal is precision, our goal is ROI, our goal is to ensure that what we are building can be scaled up for multiple use cases, and only then can you be successful. If I'm going to keep spinning out thousands of agents, which a lot of companies are doing, at the end of the day you'll come back asking who's using it and what's the ROI. So the approach we are really taking is, what are the processes we want to bring in agentic AI, which has a maximum impact on ROI, and then have a core group of people who are building it, who understand the nuances, and let the 100% of the organization use it, right? So that's how I would kind of break down the approach to adoption. Adoption to build, adoption to use.
So see, for the adoption, right, because of course there is a challenge as well, and there are, journey as well, largely for, the people, you guys are around 200 to 50 engineers and then
Yeah.
organization. I mean, how did you came too far in a short span of time? I mean, that's a commendable, first of
Yeah.
all.
Well,
Second
thank
is
you.
like, how did you, because it's not easy for any organization of that size. Largely, what was your approach to get it? Like, how,
Yeah.
because we have seen it, a lot of people started building, and that was too quick to get in production, talking to your end customers, which is very, very, I mean, these are Fortune 200, 2000 to 500 even. These are big customers of yours, which is like talking about, and more excited about what you guys have built. What was your strategy around? Maybe because the similar kind of
Yeah.
organization can see it, like, take an inspiration.
So it came top down. First of all, the C-suite, our CEO, he was very, very clear that this is the route we have to take. And before we get started, the focus was to identify those strategic areas within the organization across each of the business lines, be it financial services, professional services, or corporates, which is manufacturing, pharma. What are the processes that, if we, automate leveraging AI agents, generative AI, will it result in a ROI both from a top line and a bottom line, right? Where we bring in productivity gains, where we can increase the revenue. Last year around Jan-Feb, we had a series of governance level discussions, and we had shortlisted those areas. Right, so we knew what the focus was, right? So that was step one. We had to be very, very clear that we don't want to get diverted in multiple directions. So supply chain automation, investment banking, private equity, then in the area of investment research, you're looking at spend and spend analytics, spend management. So there were areas that we were very clear that that's the direction we want to go as a firm. So we identified those broad areas. That was one, right? Top down. What we did also was we created what we call AI squads.
Yeah,
AI
that is
squads are basically your domain experts in each business line. So each business line, be it financial services, 10 people in the AI squad. These are
oh,
individuals who have an inclination towards technology but are not engineers. And we have identified these individuals over the years, right? Just with the nature of approach, thinking. So we identified that AI
so
squad.
tell me about this AI squad, because
Yeah,
we have seen a similar problem, and because it's a very, very important problem, especially from the adoption perspective.
yeah,
Because any large organization, they have their own challenges, right?
yeah.
So first is identification of people that are into their line of businesses, and your team,
Correct.
which is like working with
And
them,
my team is working with them. So
and
the,
these are dedicated people.
these are dedicated people. These are dedicated people who would be trained on different tools, who are trained on SimplAI as well. So what happens is they are the ones who identify, basis the top-down view, what are the specific agents I want to create? What are the specific processes I want to automate? It has to be aligned with the firm strategy.
And come to this point, right? Largely, let's say from the squad, which is the
Yeah,
central in nature, right?
yeah,
Which they drive across the board, like what's gonna go, how it gonna be adopted, what metrics it looks like.
yeah.
For let's say similar organization, what your suggestion to them even?
My suggestion would be, enable the squads, enable your domain experts. Don't enable everyone to start with. Enable a small group of people who are domain experts, but are who have an inclination towards leveraging technology. As you enable them, get them to start building these agents, doing the POCs, working with engineering team to fine tune it, and then uh, move it to production. So move it to a larger number of people within their teams to adopt and use, because by then you've already signed off on it. So nothing goes to production without the AI squad signing off on it.
Got it.
Nothing, we don't start building any agent without the AI squad drafting a very detailed SOW in place, which not only talks about the different steps, but also talks about the expected ROI. So all of these steps are very, very critical, right? The SOW that the AI agents create, the sign off by them before it goes to production, the ability to on a regular basis test what the ROI is, right? And what we do is we bring these AI squads together every week or every second week to cross pollinate ideas, to see what they have learned using Simple AI or any other tools, to be able to cross pollinate ideas. So, for example, a company profile, a deep dive company profile that you would build for an investment bank. We we obviously built it on Simple AI, and it was built by one team. Now, there is obviously another team in another business vertical that has the same requirement. They take that, and now we kind of create a separate version of it, fine tune it further, and we are able to now move that to production very, very quickly. So we were able to kind of do a lot of this cross pollination, cross leveraging agents that have been created. So initially it took a lot of time to build agents, but now we are able to spin it off a lot faster because we are able to now cross leverage the learnings across each of the AI squads. So the AI squads has been a huge focal point in, I would say, the success that we've had.
Now come back to a specific, let's say,
Yeah,
use case that you talked
yeah,
about. So just tell me about how long it takes to test, how long it take you to production.
yeah.
Is it like how long that you've been able to, let's say, propose to your end customers, even because they also want these kind of
So let's break
agents
this up,
even.
right? Let's
Yeah.
talk about building, testing, and deploying
Deploying
it.
and then talking to your end
End
customers
customers, right?
also.
So I'll take the end customers data. So when this entire agentic story came out, a lot of companies, including hyperscalers, made it sound like building autonomous agents or building task-based agents was a piece of cake. You could very quickly
Yeah.
create an agent, and it should not take a lot of time. So initially, numbers were given. 2 days, 1 week, you can build AI agents,
Yeah.
which you can to just excite a client or excite internal business teams. But when you really get into the detailed level of precision, when you think about guardrails, when you think about quality, we realize it takes a lot of time. So, you would also, your team would agree to it that some of these agents, from the time of conception to building the SOW to creating it, using the various tools and the tool set, testing it, fine tuning it, it took easily 5 to 6 weeks. So now we go with a standard view of 5 to 6 weeks. If anyone tells us how much time it takes you to build an agent, we said it takes 5 to 6 weeks end to end, because you want a level of precision,
Start
which
from your
is
initial version to
absolutely
the version
in
which your
fact,
customer
even
accepts.
before the initial version is the SOW.
Yeah.
Because you really need to understand what you're trying to achieve, because there's a huge scope creep that can come into building these agents. So I would say it takes 5 to 6 weeks. Then once that 5 to 6 weeks is done, it is about productionizing it. So when we say productionizing it, it is about, when you run it within our internal agentic tool, which is Genie. So SimplAI is integrated into Genie at some level. You want the output created in a particular manner. So I get the JSON file. I want the output created. I want a tabular structure in a particular manner. So that takes another week or two to kind of do the post processing of the output, so it can be leveraged at scale, right? So 6 weeks, another 2 weeks. So anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks is what we look at. That was a starting. Now agents that can be leveraged again and again, or you just need to fine tune it a little bit, can be done in 2 weeks time. So that initial period of 5 to 8 weeks for similar agents has come down to 2 weeks. Now I think it will remain 2 to 4 weeks going forward, because how many new agents are you going to build, right? We already have 50 to 60, like I mentioned, approximately 60 to 70 in production. So it's about, how do I leverage some of those? How do I expand the use case? How do I extend the requirements a little more? So we have brought in a lot of flexibility in the process itself. So that is the answer to your first question. The second question is, how do we extend this to our clients, right? Now that's a tricky one. Let's break this down
So,
again.
I mean, before that, even,
yeah.
Does your customer ask about it? Like, hey, we need this, or
No,
because
absolutely,
that's the
absolutely. So when we started showing the agents that we have built to clients, right? And a lot of these agents are on Genie, because Genie is what we showcase to clients. In the backend, there is multiple tools that get leveraged. Clients have come back saying this is fantastic. We see our pitches. We tell the clients that this is leveraged by our teams, which it is, and we are seeing 20 to 40% productivity gains already. And with training, with enhancements and improvements, this will obviously improve. Clients have come back saying, I want access to this. I want to leverage, some of these agents for my bankers, for my internal team, for my competitive intelligence teams that we have internally. So we started by giving access of Genie to these clients in a very secure environment, and they have tested it. They have liked it very much. So now we are moving to, how do we give access to clients? Now there are different ways of giving access to clients. Either we, if there's not too much of a challenge with confidentiality and data privacy, and it can be on our prem, we run it as a dedicated deployment on Evalueserve's environment. But there are some clients that say, we want it dedicated in our environment. So that is also something we are ready to do, because we have built all of this in a way that it is cloud agnostic. It can be, deployed in clients' environments. So that's also something which we are already having conversations in with clients.
Got it. I think now that sum up, like, the kind of adoption that Evalueserve did with internal and going with the external and deployments.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how much of, I would say that from your vision to you guys achieved, and how much is left now? Or is the game just started?
The game has just started, Sandeep. 2025 was all about building credibility to ensure that we've identified the areas that we can focus this entire agentic story on. We have already started seeing a lot of value in certain client engagements. So that confidence is there, in terms of what we want to go forward with. 2026 is going to be all about adoption. So what we have built, how do I create adoption across every single client teams I have, where obviously clients give approval to leverage, this technology. That's one. The second thing is, how do I move from task-based agents to more autonomous end-to-end workflow-based solutions. Again, that's an area where we are having conversations, right? That we are now, so now what we are doing is we are looking at end-to-end processes. We are redesigning those processes as is to be. We're trying to identify where across this entire process can we leverage an agentic solution. Where is the human handoff happening? Where does judgment need to come in? So that's the direction we are going in. And that's the direction where companies and clients are also asking us now, right? What more can you do? Can you look at transforming this entire process? Can you bring in micro automations in certain areas where you were not, a part of? So I believe we are in the stage where things are just going to explode in terms of acceptance as well as in terms of adoption.
Okay. Largely for this, right? The stream or the direction that you guys are taking, where there, of course, the technology is being keep on evolving. I mean, as we see, like just recently, open cloud to how much of that you can adopt, autonomous agent, ambient agent, lot of thing, and then of course, the way we move forward, and then we see a lot more value from enterprises perspective while going along the lines. Now, while building, what all the core parameter that you required, hey, this is what I want to get this adopted from the enterprise's perspective for your the end customers. Internally, perfectly fine. From the end customer, what they look into it, what's their criteria,
Yeah. So
why they will work with, let's say, Evalueserve. Let me put it a brutal way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let me keep this question, a response to this question a little more generic, right? What our clients are looking for is the following, right? Foremost is domain expertise. There have been a lot of meetings that we've had with clients where there have been tech companies, startups also as a part of it. And we've been able to have a step up over them because of the domain expertise, right? So I think clients are looking at domain expertise. Are you able to bring in a very in-depth understanding of the process, right? The second thing the clients are looking at is the ability to come in and build the solution in a secure manner within their tenant, to be able to integrate to their internal platforms, to their internal.
So the privacy, security matters
Absolutely,
for them. Domain knowledge matter
domain
for them.
knowledge. The third one is AI governance. I do believe that AI governance is going to be a huge area of focus going forward, and you are doing a lot in that area as well, I believe. And clients are beginning to ask questions around. They may not understand, when you look at AI governance, what does it mean? But they're asking questions, and you need to be prepared, right? So that's the third piece. I do believe that while we do this with clients, we also need to be absolutely sure of what tech stack we are taking to clients. What I'm doing with my business teams is, in addition to redesigning the process, agentic, etc., we are also looking at what an AI blueprint can be. What can an architecture blueprint be, so that I can proactively go and take that to clients and ask the client, are you comfortable with this stack?
Yeah. So do they ask for how's the architecture looks like, what the tech stack being used, what that's like?
Absolutely, especially in the financial services arena.
So the openness, or I would say the opaqueness, would be required while you're talking to customers.
Absolutely agree, right? Because they do want to understand what you're using.
Yeah.
Financial services companies have always looked at this. So even when you're looking at agentic AI and the solution that we take to them, they want to go into the nth level of granularity. You have to comply with some of the regulations in different geographies. So you need to go in with that confidence, and if you don't go with that confidence, you will kind of lose the game over there. Another area of conversation which keeps coming up, and because you started with that, is you're giving this to us. You have Gemini out there, you have Claude has come up with co-work plugins, you have startup A, B, and C that have come to us. How are you different, right? I mean, it is a conversation we have every single day. 2 weeks back when Claude co-work came in with plugins, we were suddenly bombarded, right? Why can't you do this using Claude co-work, and deliver this? Now, you can probably.
So
but
Yeah.
But where do you draw the line between constantly experimenting and being with a partner who is already proactively thinking about the future? And that's a balance we have to make. So we keep kind of doing some level of experimentation, but we stick to a core a core set of players or tools that we want to keep leveraging and build a moat around that.
And more or less, I think that that gives me thought, because model only companies, I mean, in this case, let's say Cloud, I mean Anthropic, or let's say whether OpenAI or let's say others as well, largely because then you stick to one model, and in your customer they might be using
Yeah,
numerous model or on premises that being
absolutely.
deployed, or in today's world none of the model is being, the front runner, right?
Yeah,
So while Gemini to Anthropic to OpenAI, that
diminishing
largely I see
returns.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's like Gemini returns, of course, I think.
yeah,
So I think this is what we have seen, and it's not only one component, as you said, and you wanted to own it rather than rely on a single player, which may or may not be, suffice your requirement.
yeah,
Maybe it's like you can still plug in, and by the way, they don't have APIs also, so it's like you
correct.
always stick to it, and regulated environment,
Yeah.
it's really hard, maybe. So that's the one. uh we'll thanks for these taking these questions. So that then brings me to the next question. Largely in this role you've been encountered many players who comes in there. Let's say if I talk and bifurcate these ones, one, hyperscalers,
Yep.
second, model only companies, let's say Anthropic, Cohere, OpenAI, Gemini, of course, that's also part of hyperscalers. Third would be largely, let's say, startups. Uh, of course, the RPA of the world as well, and the vertical companies, like let's say, because you have been doing with the 8 line of businesses plus, and then their nature of business is also different. Let's say from IB to P to M&A to
Yep.
life sciences,
Yep.
multiple ones. So what's your thought process, and how do you evaluate, and also like how do you dig deep into these companies as well?
So I think for any person who's driving technology in today's day and age, it is very easy to get overwhelmed. And I'm being extremely candid about that.
Yeah.
2 weeks back, Anthropic came up with Claude Cowork, the plugins. Suddenly, there was a lot of hue and cry if that's going to change the nature of how we're going to do business. We started digging into the plugins. While some of it was good, it's not like you cannot create it leveraging your own, tools that you're already using, right? So we take a hybrid approach to this, and I'll talk a little bit about what constitutes the hybrid approach. But who do we partner with is dependent on um, security at an enterprise level. It depends on costs, not only cost of the partnership, but cost to run, the cost of compute. It is dependent on flexibility that we get, and flexibility to drive either roadmaps or flexibility to control the agent or the agentic solutions we are building. So those are some of the reasons that go into who we plan to partnering with. Now, we have partnered with hyperscalers. We have also partnered with startups like SimplAI, which is one of the core partnerships we have going. And the reason we identified these players was basis the points that I mentioned earlier, right? Cost, security, control. Now, there are in a company like ours where we work with different business units. Every other day, we have people coming and telling us, "Why don't you look at product A? Why don't you look at product B?" This is what clients are talking to us about. It's interesting to know what they offer, um, but it's also very important for us to stick to a tool set or a partner ecosystem and dive deep into that as much as possible. My biggest fear is for a company of our size to take on multiple partners, be it hybrids, be it startups, and not really get deep into any specific platform or tool that we're using. If it's always going to be about a small POC or a partner that we're taking for a small number of licenses, it will really not help us scale. So my focus has always been identify a mix of hybrid partners, be it the startups or hyperscalers. Focus on those. Have a small crack team that is also testing, the model only companies, is also assessing what is the market talking about some of the other startups coming in, because we need to understand price points. We need to identify what is, the differentiation that we can bring in vis-a-vis them. So there is a small team within my team and the AI squad that's constantly reviewing it, but we want to stick to a core, and that is how we are approaching this entire thing.
So let's me go in a bit deeper way, right?
Yeah.
Let's say vertical companies, right? Let's
Yeah.
talk about one of your line of businesses is investment banking.
Yeah.
So if one company is offering only let's say a solution related to investment banking, what is your usual approach, and what was, let's say, if it's like in prior to that, like why you gonna build on Simple AI rather than you can buy those solutions directly and have a faster GTM maybe?
And we have considered that, Sandeep. We have considered that. We have looked at some of these companies, and they have been very exciting, companies to look at. But a lot of times, these companies operate as SaaS-based platforms where they're giving you the agents to leverage, right?
Yeah.
And those agents have been well thought through, no doubt about that. Like investment banking, we do deep dive company profiles, we do industry studies, market studies, we do due diligence. These vertical startups, they do provide agents that look at those individual areas of focus, and they also have done a lot of due diligence in terms of the quality of the output, right? So it is good. But if I come back to companies like Evalueserve and other consulting firms, every client we go to has a slightly different requirement. The nature of the output changes. The sections that you have to create changes. The way they would want you to deploy the solution changes. And these vertical AI companies do not give us that flexibility. They will come back and tell you that you tell us what you want, and we will make the enhancements and come back to you. So it's a handoff. When I work with platforms like SimplAI, what it allows me to do, it allows me to be in control of that entire pipeline. It allows me to, on the fly, test what I'm getting and how to enhance that. It allows me to bring in the level of configuration I need in that pipeline from the start. So I start thinking proactively. If I have to take this to 5 clients, what steps would need to be configured? And I bring that proactively so that I'm not reinventing the wheel all the time. And why, working with companies like SimplAI works really well for us is because ultimately the output would probably be equal to some of those other companies, but the ability for me to scale, configure, make changes is a lot more. Simple examples being, I've tested some of these other platforms. Like I said, output is great, but it might, leverage Wikipedia as a source. Now, I know when I do create an agent, let's say on SimplAI, I define very clearly what are the sources I do not want it to consider. Now, these are guardrails we put in there, right? You might argue that it is not 100% autonomous, which is okay. Some agents, task-based agents, it's okay not being 100% autonomous. It's okay putting some guardrails because that's the way we operate in this industry. So we will clearly say these are a list of sources like Wikipedia, XYZ, which we do not want the agent to tap into, right? Now, that level of control and understanding we are able to put in because my teams have been working on these processes for almost 20-25 years, right? So all that know-how is being able to be factored into our agents that we create, and that's the edge that we bring in versus these vertical startups that are more tech focused, right? So their feature set and everything is fantastic, but when you have all these other aspects around domain, quality, precision, control, it doesn't really give you a lot of that nuances.
Great. Now let's say model only companies, if I talk about, like they are also going pretty heavy on this, right? Once the model is out there, then they start, of course, there's like, it could be a finance model, it could be, let's say, a sector based model, I would say, or domain based models. I mean, they must be also reaching out to you, like, hey, why don't you take X or Y or Z offering, including OpenAI, Cohere, Anthropic, of course, the Geminis as well. Now, and then there are others as well, right? Including the startup also in this nature, right? What's your take there? I mean, why don't you work only with, let's say, Anthropic today?
So we are testing Anthropic, both Anthropic. So we're testing both Claude Code as well as Claude Cowork plugin, and we want to obviously see where we can leverage some of the specifics that they bring in. But ultimately, the power of a lot of these companies is the model itself, right? Be it Opus 4.6 or GPT 5.3, Codex or 5.2. The strength lies in those LLMs. And those LLMs can be leveraged in your platform and other platforms. And so I would rather see how I can leverage those models and give my team flexibility to change models rather than get tied to a specific model provider itself, right? So that's how we are leveraging this. I think we're still early in this stage of assessment. But if you ask me, I feel we should absolutely leverage the LLMs and the models that they give out. But do we want to leverage their platform entirely? Now that's a call we haven't yet taken, and we're still assessing because it again has to boil down to those factors like flexibility, cost, security, etc. Right? So it has to boil down to all of that.
Now, I mean, in your customer conversation, right, to end customer even, do they have certain level of choice? Or do they already say that, hey, we already have some of the model, or tying up with them, because a lot of tying up happening or happened. So how you are seeing this?
No, so there are different approaches, and I'm sure you're hearing the same, right? Some of them are already with some hyperscalers.
Correct.
So they want us to build in the hyperscalers stack, which is something we are open to doing, right? So we'll build it within the hyperscaler stack. Others are more open to us bringing in our tech stack, our tool set, so long as it doesn't expose their data, it doesn't expose its security is under control, there is governance. So in those instances we have a lot more flexibility in terms of what we take in. We have also reached a stage where we know what works well with a hyperscaler and what works well in what we have created with you, and that gets integrated into Genie. So we know the difference. So we are also able to go back and tell clients that use a hyperscaler for these use cases, use Genie plus SimplAI for these use cases. So we're able to go ahead and kind of provide those differences. But I think clients are also getting smarter. They are open to suggestions, but they have also tied up with some players, and they do come back and tell us to leverage those platforms. So it's an evolving space. I do believe in the next 1 to 2 years, the space will kind of ease out a little bit. People would know what's working, what's not working, and we will also have a better say.
So now to the next world, right? Because RPA was ruling from, let's say, 2015 or maybe earlier to that as well, and been there even. And most of the company, like whether it's a consulting, KP, or enterprise, is been using. And you might be also using prior to that, or now where do you see, if anyone is like coming with that, do you see that evaluation is happening right now, or do you see that, hey, now people are talking about, and whoever implemented, or some of the workflow being there, how do you see that transformation coming along? How are you evaluating for this set of let's say companies, even with the agentic companies in nature?
So
even
what I'm seeing is in a lot of firms, be it startups like yourself as well as the hyperscalers, the RPA, the ability to orchestrate these workflows is becoming very, very strong. So do you need a RPA player is still questionable. But Sandeep, I will ask you that question, right? What are your thoughts around it?
So I think, in my opinion, we see whoever built it and having it, but while talking to customer like yours or enterprises, hardcore enterprises, largely because it's not, they are not renewing that. Either because the existing contract is keep on extending. The natural evolution of these would be slowly just start and then scaling it from there. Largely we see rip and replace story.
Okay.
Cannot exist that. But if you already having a lot more workflow built, you can't just change in a
Yeah,
day.
absolutely.
So you take the strategy from build a one use case and just automate the business outcome. That's what agentic in play.
Yeah, that's what
And
I
that's what
said.
we
Yeah,
see, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what the move forward we see.
yeah.
And we don't see the enterprises who is renewing. Let's say, of course, you signed already a multi-year contract, then it's
Yeah.
because you need to. And you need to, an evaluation is very, I would say, it's natural evolution. So
Correct.
this is what we see. But
Correct.
in your cases, that what you're seeing, let's say you already implemented, you largely want to go away from that at this point.
Yeah, and RP is not really an area that we have seen a lot of success or requirements in our scheme of things, and where we need to bring in workflow automation. Like I said, Agentic is able to do that. So that's the direction which companies are a lot more comfortable,
Yeah.
kind of focusing on.
Yeah. Then that brings to the startup of the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the another segment where a lot of startup, it's a vertical, horizontal company like us. Let's say if you are evaluating, and I am damn sure you have evaluated them as well. So what do you see in them? What is your top 3 criteria? You will say, and then you answered that question. I'm just probing to get to you, like, what your top criteria, because you have got the success into production and you are taking it to your end customer. So what those 3 criteria for our users of similar company like yours?
So when I look at startups, it's for me not in order of prioritization. Number one is how much support I can get from the startups.
So your top criteria is support.
It is support.
So you are saying the support is not the just support you get it from, let's say, any players, like
Yeah.
call it or have it. What you need the support, just to clarify, is like FD support, which help you to build and guide it along the line and then do that.
It
Is
is
that
about
the
it is
support?
about building.
Uh-huh.
If anything breaks, you're there on call to
Yeah.
support us. When we are thinking strategically about pricing, when we're thinking about how do we bring in a level of precision, y'all are there to kind of guide us. So that when I look at support, is not just L1, L2 support.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is about being a thought partner
Okay.
in our journey, right? And that is step one. The second need for me when I look at a partner is what is their roadmap looking like, and how aligned is it with changes that are happening in the market? Because what a lot of companies in the AI world today are doing is they are building wrappers, around models and around tools out there. But is what you're building more than just solving one particular requirement, or does it give me the ability to cater to multiple use cases? So a company like Evalueserve, like you mentioned, right? Financial services, investment banks, PE, then you have corporates, you have consulting firms. Every single one has a different requirement.
Yeah.
I can't go with a startup that is just is not giving me the flexibility to try different use cases, right? So a partner has to give me the ability to scale across the organization.
So largely you look for operating system, which is like that works really well.
It
for
has to
you.
work really well, right? So that becomes a second reason in terms of who do I partner with when it comes to the startup ecosystem. Also, when I look at startups, and when I'm talking about SimplAI as well, right? What is how flexible is a startup, right? Now, for example, we've had conversations. Can you integrate with FactSet API? Can you integrate with some other web scraping platforms? Can you bring in certain tools into the platform, right? So you've built the product in a way that it is flexible. So is that because if the product or the startup is flexible, it lends that flexibility to myself as well, right? So that becomes a second criteria of who do I want to partner with. And the third one is, obviously to do with your roadmap, your client base. Do you have an existing client base, which is credible enough? That is also a key reason for me to partner with someone, because I think we are in that stage where there are just so many startups opening up every single day. There's always a fear of what would happen a year from now. So, the credibility of the startup becomes very critical. The funding, who's on the board, what kind of clients do they have. So that becomes very critical for us to say, okay, we want to go with this particular startup. So these would be some of the reasons of partnering with someone.
Now the last one, which of course the bigger giant is like hyperscalers, right? I mean, what your thought around it? Because they also might be, proposing, hey, why don't you build it here? And of course, what's usual approach you take it with them even?
So like I said, it's we do take a hybrid approach. Hyperscalers and building capabilities with hyperscalers, be it GCP, be it Microsoft, will continue. Mainly because we have clients that have an ask, to leverage some of those hyperscalers to do some of the, to create some of those autonomous agents or workflows within their environment. So it is important to partner with them, but it's also important for us to understand where is it that a hyperscaler will be successful and where do we need to look at others, because I don't expect a hyperscaler to solve for all the use cases.
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to understand the balance between where to bring in a hyperscaler, where to bring in, a more cloud agnostic kind of solution that can cater to, use cases that are probably a lot more deeper in terms of what we need to solve. So that's how I would look at the partnership with hyperscalers.
So is that the one of the criteria, let's say, you look for? Let's say if any startup, I mean, again, I'm taking example which is being built on, let's assume, on certain hyperscaler. Let me take it Bedrock or Vertex or something like that. Now, if you build on something and you have requirement to deploy on, let's say, Azure, it's topple the story.
It does. It absolutely does.
Then become a wrapper again. It's become a wrapper, and
that's why I said it's
a
a hybrid approach we have to take, so that we have that flexibility for a cloud agnostic. If like I build something that I can take to all my clients in a particular vertical. So when it comes to transformation requirements, can you come in and transform something in my environment, and I have this hyperscaler stack? Okay, but if I am building something, I would want it to be agnostic of the cloud. I would want to be able to cater to my entire client base and not get stuck, right? And that becomes a very important criteria for my entire hybrid approach.
Okay, we see the similar conversation with our customer. So from the hyperscaler perspective, as per my knowledge, largely, let's say, GCP on around 12-13% of the market share. Azure owns around 22%. Or AWS on around 30% of the market share, largely, which comes around 65% around, and rest of them. So if anyone want to build it on one, their market share itself or TAM is also just shrink to that level. And also there are multiple, other feature also, like largely when you mentioned we work on 6 pillars largely. One is orchestration, because that's important for us. Like, what all things you needed to serve your customers. Security, which is important, which is a cloud agnostic. Third is governance, which you rightly mentioned. For AI governance, everyone is looking. We have spoken to hundreds of enterprises. Everyone is looking this piece. The governance part, of course, and then the compliance, that's mandatory. I mean, it's not the like tick mark now. How are you storing your data? Where are you storing your data? How it is being accessed, what all the compliance you have, because every country have their own compliances now, especially the AI governance around. And of course, the scale, because it's not about MVPs, because while we're talking to frameworks or let's say LangChain, Llama Index, or multiple, because the engineering teams have these always happy to, even I've been myself as engineer leader, so we always think we'll build it and then it start stitching and fail it because it cannot scale. Largely, and you need to have not have one framework, you need to have multiple, and then how do you scale? Because scaling, you need system engineering and the infra both.
Absolutely.
That's what we do in nature. So there it's like, cracking, and largely the support you mentioned, not only like, you telling us it's failing, will be there and building with you.
Correct.
Because in couple of years, we see that it's going to happening if anyone is adopting in nature. So this is what we see from landscape perspective, and that's what we ourselves, having that OS approach to make it happen. The next questions bring me to the next, or maybe the last question. Given the early success and the adoption in EVS now, what do you see in next 5 years EVS would be, given the landscape is moving? What do you see that larger automations, or let's say autonomous agents, which is like, going more and more deeper, changing the industry itself, like KPA or let's say consulting firms. What are your thoughts on this?
So there's no doubt that the industry is changing. There's also no doubt that the adoption of agentic AI is going to keep growing. At Evalueserve, we accept that and we understand that that has to change. We are already relooking at business models. We are already proactively having conversations with clients and telling them that, we are ready to disrupt what we are doing for you, because that is ultimately the direction, the industry is going in. I think you need to accept that change, and how that change in the short term might impact you as a firm, but in the long term, it does bring a lot of credibility and trust with your client base, right? So that's something that we absolutely accept and we are focusing on. How does the industry change? Like I mentioned earlier, the low value added work, the repeatable work, will, where you use humans, will go down drastically. The kind of work that will keep increasing is work where you require a lot of judgment. You need domain expertise. Areas where there needs to be a level of context that needs to come into what the agents bring out. So that is an area which is going to keep growing. So companies like us are going to keep focusing on building that the high-end capability in terms of what we are going to be driving. I do believe there are going to be new roles that will also emerge in companies like ours. Roles where people are, agent oversights, roles around agent builders, the roles of the AI architects, right? These are new roles that we will create, and we will then also have these individuals partner with clients, to drive what they are trying to do. So that's on the typical knowledge related work. But also what we're seeing is a lot of transformation requirements coming in, which is something which we never used to do before. So processes where we have a very strong hold on, be it supplier, end-to-end supplier value chains, or end-to-end competitive intelligence value chains, or when you're looking at investment banks or private equities, we do multiple aspects. Can we transform those by leveraging technology? So clients are saying, okay, you did X for us. Can you now do X plus Y? Can you bring in a layer of automation over this? And that's addition to what we were doing before, right? So that's another area that I see a growth happening. So if I just summarize, a conversation I had with my CEO last week, he said that firms like Evalueserve, our strength is going to be in bridging the gap from probabilistic to deterministic. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because ultimately what agentic AI and generative AI it is probabilistic in terms of the output. And a lot of enterprises we work with and the kind of work that we do, they need absolute certain results. And, we will kind of help bridge that gap in the way we approach agentic, in the way we approach consulting or advisory. And that's the gap that, we will look at bridging. And I think there is a huge acceptance to that need, with people spending more and more time on these tools, that gap needs to be bridged. Yeah, so that's where I see this entire industry shifting towards.
So one statement you made largely from, let's say, probabilistic to deterministic, but you are using entire probabilistic because of agentic you are using.
Absolutely.
I know that, where you making with those combination and giving output in a deterministic way.
Absolutely.
Is that the correct understanding?
That's correct.
So I think
that's where the domain experts come in, right? Who help kind of bridge that gap.
So which means we are building multi-agentic with, because one solution I have seen it largely let's say the research mode, we have hundreds of not agents, the calls is happening, and there are multi-agents which is doing the proper work, and you're making them deterministic so that your customers largely love it, like what they really.
And that's why the entire focus on precision, right? Precision outputs is the way to go.
Thank you so much, Satya, for coming in this podcast. It will be really helpful for our customers, our audiences to learn about how a global organization changed their transformation from beginning of agentic AIs to in a production. And I think it will be helpful for everyone who is listening. Thank you so much.
And Sandeep, thank you so much for calling me to be a part of this podcast. We've had a relationship going back to January of last year when this entire agentic story began, and I must thank you and your team to allow us to adopt and go to market very quickly. I think one of the biggest fears, not fears, but I think one of the biggest challenges we had is how soon can we go to market.
Yeah.
And the partnership with SimplAI helped us, drive those POCs and showcase it and give us the confidence and understanding of what can come in. So thank you for that. And, it's been a fantastic conversation with you in today's podcast.
We really enjoyed, and I think we'll do the highest. And as I keep on saying, right, the kind of deployments we're gonna do with you guys, I think that would be one of the largest, I believe.
Absolutely.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.